All right, all right, all right. Weird Al is here. So let's talk about Weird Al. Uh, wow. I was kind of surprised by this film. It's on Roku. It's free on Roku. You have some ads, I think, that run a couple times in the film. So first thing, I'm kind of a nerd when it comes to Weird Al. Like I've been listening to Weird Al since the beginning. Grew up with Weird Al. We're not that far off age. He's a little bit older than me. So when I saw this announced with Daniel Radcliffe, I was not only surprised Daniel Radcliffe was cast because obviously he's not who I would think of. I would say that I am shocked by the film itself. It is not what you think. So spoilers are bound with this because this is one of those that there's really no easy way to talk about the film the way I want to and not spoil it. So if you don't want it spoiled, there you go. It is not a biopic at all. It's a parody, and it's another sort of like it's Weird Al trolling us. He's parodying his own life, and while there are elements that are true and happen, most of them are just modifications of things that kind of happen. So I want to leave the big picture up for a mix. I want you to see Daniel Radcliffe, who grew out his mustache and actually looks completely buff several times in the movie, and I guess that was legit. He really was that. He showed up on set and looked like that. Um, there are moments where he is believable as Weird Al. There's other moments where he's not because he just looks so young, and he's such a small human. He's just so short, and even though he's worked out and he's big, he's still this tiny man compared to like regular sized adult men around him that are like 6'1". But no, several elements are accurate. Like it goes through his life when he's a child and it moves through. But it's weird because you don't know it's a parody, and it kind of starts off where you think it's actually going to be about his life, and the accordion salesman shows up, but then the dad becomes like completely bonkers, and you're like, what is happening in this? I don't think this. I don't think I remember anything about Weird Al's dad being like this. But quickly you pick up on the fact that it's so over the top for jokes. But the first half of the film works pretty well. It moves through his career pretty quickly. Recording My Bologna in a bathroom, which again, it's a different bathroom, but it's a bathroom. There's truth to things like the Yankovic bump. Like if he parodies a song, it actually helps the artist. It wasn't like it wasn't a bad thing. Like artists would figure that out. There are a million references and like cameos to other figures of the 80s, in particular this party. Al goes to this party with Dr. Demento, who, by the way, Rainn Wilson pulls off Dr. Demento pretty darn well. I mean, I know the story doesn't fit. Like Dr. Demento was kind of a mentor and a role model to Al, but it's exaggerated. It's almost like he was a business manager. That part is not true. But in this party, you have like, I don't know, man. You had Conan O'Brien as Andy Warhol, but you have like a Salvador Dali, and Jack Black plays Wolfman Jack, this famous DJ from back in the day, who basically is trying to call out Al for not being talented and actually put him on the spot to do a parody song right now. He has the guy from Queen there, and that's how in the movie, that's how Another One Bites the Dust. Another One rides the bus is done. And I will say this, the film, once you realize it's a gag, you can realize that it's not taking itself as serious as you think it is, right? The way the band comes together and plays, with the way songs are being written, like he's sitting around like he doesn't have ideas. Next thing you know, it's like he's making bologna sandwiches, how Eat It comes to be. Is like he says, I'm making original songs now. The joke is that he wrote Eat It, and Michael Jackson is parodying him, and it's very over the top. Like it's over the top. It is fun. It if you're into like his UHF movie, the first part of the film I think works very, very well, but then he meets the Madonna thing. So the Madonna inserts herself in his life because she wants the Yankovic bump, right? Now in real life, they barely interacted. I guess they had like a 1 minute interaction, probably like backstage at some, going on Johnny Carson or something. Like they'd be backstage and I don't know what it was, but they did interact at one point, but they obviously didn't date. There are massive like make out sequences where they're knocking over statues and stuff like that. So however, make sure I have her name right because I wrote it down. Make sure I had this right. That the actress that does, that can't be her name. Evan Rachel Wood. That can't be right. Is that right? Is that how you say her name? She was great. Evan Rachel Wood. She was fantastic as Madonna. Pulled it off to a T. That version of Madonna was done very well. And most of the impersonations they were very believable. There's a ton of them. But I kept asking myself, how many of these gags land? Like, how many people will get these? Like, it's totally written for, like, my generation, maybe a little bit older than me and somewhat younger than me, that are familiar with that era of pop culture in that level of detail. Because if you don't get these references, I don't even know you can understand half the jokes in this movie. The film derails with the Madonna thing because that's when it becomes like over the top silly. Like it's not even like it's part of being like an Al story at that point. It becomes like the Rambo scene in UHF where it's like Pablo Escobar is obsessed with Al, won't go to his birthday party to perform, so he kidnaps Madonna, and Al shows up shooting up people, and you have a shootout, and then Madonna's like, no, you don't have to go back to our lives. You can be help me be in charge of this, like, drug ring or whatever. Anyway, but just Al just being like a fall down drunk. There's a scene with The Doors where he's like basically reenacting the scene from The Doors where Jim Morrison's like in Miami on stage with the leather pants, and you want to see it. And of course, Jim Morrison gets arrested for allegedly exposing himself. And here it's like Al pulling out his accordion, and they arrest him as though he's done something wrong. So that's, it's over the top, like the dad, and dad is just completely insane to him. And then later he sees him at the factory, and he really secretly has a Hawaiian shirt on because he loves his son. And he really was an accordion player as well, an outcast, because he was Amish, which leads to the Amish Paradise song. So I don't know. Weird Al also asked Daniel Radcliffe to lip sync all of Weird Al's songs, and a lot of times the lip syncing looks really bad. It's just distractingly bad, and that was one of the things early in the movie. Like, if this is a good film or not, like I was distracted because I didn't get some of the spoof elements. So I don't know. It's okay. It's not a bad film. It's entertaining. It for what it is, it's fine. It's like a solid 7. You know what I mean? It's a very solid film. But there's a lot of issues, and it's just I don't know exactly why Al would want to approach it this way, other than trying to insert his name back into the lexicon for this generation. He appears in it. He appears in the film as a record executive, and his brother, that is just kind of over the top. Like everything is like that. Everything becomes this gag, and if you're in on the gag, you can enjoy the movie for what it is. And I think it's going to be one of those that's kind of like UHF, where people will enjoy it after the fact, but at the same time, I don't want to get too carried away with it being a good film. But it is a fun experience, and it's a fine, Weird Al parody thing in and of itself. So it's Al almost parodying his own life, and there was some kind of fun in that. So anyway, that's my take. Maybe you've seen it. You can tell me what you guys think. I'll appreciate your feedback in the comments. Thanks. I'm Pops.
Rap Circle is finally here. I know